let's have a look at this. And Sean, we've got you here, so do one story with us to give the people a bit of a vibe around who you are and what you're about. This I caught on the 6 o'clock news. It's very rare to see the 6 p.m. news on TV1. I don't know if TV3 did it or not, but cut live. So the TV1 news started and they went breaking news. And normally when TV1 does that, it's a story that's come out at 5:30 and they've got a package for it. But literally went to Mikey Sherman in the corridors of the Parliament, and she literally went, "There's a press conference going on right now, let's go to it." And they went straight to the press conference where Mark Mitchell spoke, and then the police commissioner spoke, and then there was Q&A. The Attorney General didn't speak. Well, did obviously, but not during One News. And it's that the Jevon McSkimming complaint, right? He's been done for, and I'm just going to paraphrase, I'm not going to necessarily hit the exact charges, but basically child porn and bestiality. That's the things that were in his computer and whatever that means legally. But what came out in this IPCA report, amongst other things, and I'm sure we'll learn more over the next 24 hours, is that there was just as a female, I don't even know if it says female officer, but a female was a complainant about Jevon McSkimming's alleged inappropriate sexual conduct. Alleged. Now, he never got charged with anything, but what happened, what's being reported now, is that the individual that made the complaint was the person that was then charged under the Harmful Digital Communications Act in relation to emails that accused McSkimming of sexual offending during his time at the police. So she sent emails saying, this person has offended sexually, and she was then charged. The charges have been withdrawn. No charges were laid against McSkimming for sexual offending, so we need to be careful. It's alleged, yada, yada. But that's what's come out today. And at the press conference, what I thought was interesting was they used the phrase several times at the highest level. Such and such happened at the highest level. Now, the only thing I was unclear on is the highest level of the police is Parliament. I'm assuming they were saying at the highest level, but they never said of the police. They just said at the highest level. There was no accusations made in the press conference I saw about any ministers or anything doing anything untoward, but that's still something that needs to be cleared up a little bit. But I guess, Sean, you're our guest. If you want to have first crack at this breaking news story, which we're going to find out more about in the next couple of days, what are your initial thoughts on it?
My initial thoughts is that it's horrifying, it's scary. That would speak to a systemic intention to dissuade complaints against other officers, let alone positions of power. You said before that it would reach Parliament. I don't know. I think in my imagination, when I hear at the highest level, I assume I would, like, it's weird to say I would hope, but I would hope that it's within the police and doesn't reach as high as Parliament. If it were to reach as high as Parliament, that would be a monumental just scandal. And I feel kind of weird using the word scandal, because scandal to me, I feel, is a bit reductive. It's kind of implying that I feel it kind of doesn't give the appropriate gravity to the story. I don't know what words you would use for it. It's horrifying. And to me, my takeaway is that a common talking point when it comes to kind of promoting people is, and especially in right-wing circles, is, well, who's the best person for the job? Like, don't like, I don't want to get into identity politics. I don't care about if you're black, white, whatever. Who's the best person for the job? And it's like, guess what? Sometimes your identity, the demographic that you belong to, whether it be gender or racial identity, does very much factor into the merit of that role. I do imagine that if we had more females at the high end of the police, I think something like this, not only do I not think that anything like this would happen, I think that the complaint would have probably actually been touched on. So I think it's just, and again, it's all alleged. And I'm speaking at this point, I'm speaking hypothetically just to
Yeah.
cover ourselves. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty horrifying.
Chewie?
I'm going to link this to a couple of things. Remember the shitstorm when it was dared be suggested that some people don't feel safe around the cops?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And this is why. Because we can link this back to other high profile cases where women went up against the police or tried to draw attention to the behavior of the police and they were ignored, they were sidelined, they were maligned, they character assassinated, some of them. And here we have, again, an old boys network closing ranks at the highest fucking level. These are leaders. These are people that have been involved in the police for many, many years and have worked their way up and built those relationships. So this sounds rotten to the core. And now we've got Mark Mitchell, again, closing ranks. He's a former cop. He's one of the boys. Can we really trust him to look at the police as it stands and goes, well, this is fucking serious?
Yeah.
Do I have to cut out the rot? Or do I just have to make sure that people don't see it?
Hey,
That's my concern.
Chewie, can I just take a step back and just congratulate you on that link you just made? That is fucking genius, mate, what you have just said. Like, honestly, this is what you're talking about. And the link you've just made is I'm not even going to think of a flash word. It's just absolutely spot on, to a point that I will be messaging Tamatha shortly and see if we can get her tomorrow night. I know she's been off on sick leave, but she's back at work, because what you've just said is all of the people who said to Tamatha, well, why would anyone be scared of the police? Let me just read a bit more of this article just to come back in. And see why they'd be scared of the police. The complaint it talks about comes as the IPCA has released a damning report into the handling of serious complaints made against the former top cop. 135-page report said there had been serious failings by very senior officers. Now listen to this if you're someone laying a complaint. The charges, Stuff understands, right? So you're the person who's not supposed to be scared of the police, right? So you're the victim. Stuff understands the individual accused McSkimming of sexually assaulting her in a series of emails. However, according to LAC and the IPCA, police unquestioningly accepted McSkimming's story of events and laid charges against her instead of investigating the allegations. So they didn't even investigate the allegations according to the IPCA, they just laid charges. Over a period of years, she attempted to report allegations of serious physical, psychological, and sexual offending by McSkimming. Then one of the most senior officers in the country, instead of being heard, she was dismissed and utterly prosecuted for speaking out and raising her concerns, her lawyer said. Let me ask one other thing. Now, I'm not going to jump up and down about conspiracy theories yet. I'm unclear, and maybe I haven't quite read it yet, I'm going to skim, when this started. And then I'd like to also understand when the complaints were laid, because it said over a series of years. When did Mr. Mitchell leave the police? Like, was there a crossover? I'm not accusing him of doing anything. I would just like to know, when you're talking about the Old Boys Network closing rank, could there have been any crossover between people he knew personally and that? Because that would be an interesting thing now. Again, make it very clear, I'm not making any accusations against Mark Mitchell, but what are the years this happened and who was in charge then and who were senior police officers then? That's what I would like to know now.
Yeah. That's what you need to look at. You've got two of them now. So what are the links? What are the relationships? And I'm sorry, they need to be investigated fully. The charges that they brought against this woman, my understanding was basically she was spamming them. She sent 300 emails making this accusation. And so I think they go, this is fucking out the gates and annoying. let's see if we can get her to stop. But at no point did they go, we are the police. We need to be held to the highest standard. Like, where is the accountability? But yeah, everybody associated with these guys needs to be disinfected from it. That it needs to be independent as fuck. Even to the point that Mark Mitchell needs to recuse himself as it's a conflict of interest. They need to bring in, what do they call it? Like when they do a royal commission or something like that?
Internal, in the movies, it's called internal affairs. I don't know what it's called.
Independent. And look, I have to say that there was announced independent. I also want to say right now, I can see in his bio that he finished up, ironically, the group he had working in Afghanistan, Somalia, and Darfur was called Threat Management Group. He sold that in 2010, so he's probably there's probably no crossover there. So I won't quite withdraw and apologize, but I will say there's probably no smoke there. Not that not that I was accusing him of doing anything, but if he knew people who knew people, is there a conflict, as Chewie's just said?
I mean, there's the Independent Police Complaints Authority. I don't think that's independent enough for this. Like, I think this is...
Well, they've pointed it out. They're the ones that have made some big noise about it. But if they've made some big noise about it, what I think you're saying, Chewie, correct me if I'm wrong, is it must be really bad. Because if they're making big noises about it.
If the top cop gets taken out for child abuse, porn, and bestiality on a work computer... that is a big problem. And like there are other smaller problems. Like there was a story last week about how a whole bunch of breath testing results were just wrong. You know, a huge amount, thousands and thousands just didn't exist or were false results or that sort of thing. So when you're looking at that and you're going, do people trust the cops? Does a woman that has an accusation against a police officer feel safe to go into a police station and make a complaint and be treated fairly? Now, you wouldn't say that's going to happen every time, but when it's you doing it, do you trust the cops? And I think everybody here that jumped on Tamatha over her. Sorry, did I say the name wrong?
Tamatha, sorry. Brain fart. Who jumped on Tamatha and said, oh, you're crazy. You can't say this about the police. They all owe her an apology. And they need to line up. Like, let's go back to Louise Nichols. Because this sounds so much like that. She made complaints, was ignored. Rapist cop gets away with it for ages. Now, Sean, you probably won't have the same problem as you do right now on the collective, and that's trying to get a word in edgewise. I'm sure you're much more polite. But me and Chewie will shut up right now, and we'll let you have the last point, and then we're going to move on. What would you like to wrap up with?
Yeah, Chewie touched on it before. What was it, 300 emails or whatever that she sent? I don't know if you're being... Was that the real... Okay. I think another kind of angle for the story that we need to come from is that we need to give her some serious props. It takes extreme bravery in that situation to be able to kind of make the complaint in the first place once. And most think about the fact that most women don't even do it once. And from seeing this story, you can kind of understand why. When you see what happens when you do lay a complaint, the fact that she didn't fucking relent is so, I think it demonstrates a lot of bravery. It's something that she deserves all the credit in the world for. I hope that her hard work and all this eventually pays off, because it's not something that any female in the workplace should ever have to encounter. And if it does, and if they, heaven forbid, they do encounter it, there should be consequences. And also, I agree, we all, not we, but there are a lot of people who owe Tamatha Paul a big fat apology.
Yeah.
So I think I'm not going to hold my breath, but. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Sean. Everyone in the chat is excited, as me and Chewie are as well, about the collective. This Sunday, 7 p.m. Wherever people are watching this right now, that's where it will be playing. And have fun. I'm sure we'll talk through the week. And thanks for your input tonight. And go hard when it gets to the new podcast.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.